Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a nice weekend. I made a video yesterday about how I thought Anthony Joshua not facing Deontay Wilder was a good thing. That fight has been proposed. Initially it was for December, now it's for January, but there are serious doubts as to whether it's going to happen. And I was saying in my previous video, it's for the best for Joshua because his confidence is shot to bits. He needs to just rebuild from the floorboards up with Derek James, and he needs to get himself psychologically repaired and prepared, because he's just at a point where he fights like he's scared of his own wind. I mean, he doesn't look good, does he? However, as I mentioned, I sort of alluded to this in the video, but Deontay Wilder, a lot of people made the point, well, hang on a minute, Deontay Wilder is 37 now, and he hasn't, he'll be 38 when he gets in the ring with Joshua if the time frame pans out. But let's not forget, he fought Tyson Fury in that incredible barn burner 2 years ago. That was in early October, I think it was. Early October, was it, or was it September? I can't remember. But anyway, it's damn near 2 years. And since then, he's had less than a round against Robert Helenius. So at his age, 38, 37 pushing 38, and with such limited ring time, he's going to be rusty. He's going to be... we don't know what his mentality will be like. We don't know how much the third Fury fight has taken out of him. I mean, all of these criticisms are true, but the point I made with the previous video is that while Joshua is seemingly second guessing himself all the time and talking in very contradictory terms, and 1 minute he wants to be give the impression he's a sort of road guy, and the next minute he wants to give the impression that he's a humble mainstream sort of fella and he wants to be loved by everyone. And then he's he had that meltdown after the second Usyk fight, and he hasn't looked impressive in the two fights since. Nevertheless, if you look at Deontay Wilder, he hasn't been busy at all. But as I said in the previous video, Wilder is someone that, delusional or otherwise, has this great confidence. He absolutely believes that he can walk through walls, and he's proved that he is a fighting man. I mean, without question, the beatings he took off Fury, he didn't quit. Fury had to knock him out, as I said previously. Fury had to level him, completely iron him out, and Wilder has that self-belief. He has that delusionary or otherwise. He has that belief. Now that's what makes him dangerous to me. It's his mentality. If he's hit cleanly on the chin by Joshua, he might hit the floor, but he'll definitely get up. If Wilder lands that right hand on Joshua, it's all ifs, of course, would he get up? He probably would, but I get the impression that whereas Wilder would get up and think, okay, I'm coming for you, and Joshua probably wouldn't. Don't forget, Wilder, even in his fights with Fury, he had 3 fights. In my opinion, he lost them all, but he put Fury on the floor 4 times in 3 fights. And Fury is, in terms of natural weight, is probably, 35, 40 pounds of natural weight heavier. I mean, at least 2 stone heavier. He's taller than Wilder. He's just a massively bigger man. He calls Wilder a basketball player and makes all these desultory remarks about him. And of course, as we know, Wilder is technically not great. He's got some technique, he's got some timing, he's got those fast twitch muscles in his right hand. Again, the fact that he is not a technical genius, that he doesn't rely too much on defensive skills, what's the word I'm looking for? Defensive reactionary skills. The fact that he is prepared to take punches, to land punches. This actually means that even though he's aging, and even though he hasn't been in the ring for too often, for much at all, in virtually no activity in the last 2 years, nevertheless, that the layoff and the age doesn't affect him as much as it would someone who does rely on reflexes and say like a Roy Jones type. I mean, Jones fought once a heavyweight, but was never nowhere near to being a heavyweight. It's barely a cruiserweight really by the end of his career. But he was reliant on reflexes, on being able to, on speed, on timing. With Wilder, he is gangly. He is extremely dangerous because he hits hard. But then I say he hits hard, and a few people in the comments of the previous video were saying, well, you're saying that, but who's he fought? He's fought Fury. Yeah, I take that point totally. I take that point. But as I said, yeah, he's fought Fury 3 times. He's put him on the floor 4 times. I don't think you can rule out Wilder's power just simply by saying, well, he's fought a load of garbage. I mean, take out Fury and Luis Ortiz, and yeah, who has he fought? I mean, C-level, C-plus fighters. Helenius, maybe at the time, was probably considered. He's coming off 2 good wins over Adam Kalnacki, but probably a C-plus fighter. Better than when Joshua fought him. Who else is there? You know, Dominic Brazil, C-plus. What would you say? C-plus. Bermain Stavern, even when he was at his best, he took first fight he took Wilder the distance. Probably never better than a C+. Gerald Washington we know about. He was undefeated at the time, but has shown very, very little heart, very little determination and motivation. Chris Arreola will give you a good fight. He retired after 8. Then you got Molina and Duepas and Spilko and, you know, C fighters at the most. Grade C. He hasn't fought anyone, but sometimes it's the manner in which you get your work done. And I don't think you can dismiss the guy's power. He hits with a hell of a wallop. He's got scary power, and they do say that the last thing to leave you is your punch. Now, having said all of this, what is the next step for Deontay Wilder? Because there was talk of him going in with Andy Ruiz. That hasn't happened. He's not a champion, hasn't got a belt. Does he want to make another run at the title? I think if you gave him a magic wand and said pick someone, he'd pick Fury again, because he knows Fury's got his number, and he is a fighting man. People didn't give Joshua enough credit, I don't think, for taking on Usyk as a man. Was he mandatory, wasn't he? Was he mandatory? I think he was. And then he went back straight back in with him against. A lot of people were saying, "Don't do that, you'll lose again," and he did lose again. But at the same time, he deserves credit for going back in there. And the reason I like Joshua, and I do see his limitations, is that he is the type of fighter who has taken on anyone, who has ducked no one. I've heard people say that he ducked Wilder 5-6 years ago. He didn't. He clearly didn't. I'm not saying Wilder ducked him, but Wilder's team didn't want to know. Wilder was offered an astronomical amount of money, courtesy of DAZN, and his people turned it down. I think now it's more probable that Eddie Hearn and DAZN and Matchroom would be kind of rather subtly steering Joshua away from Wilder at this point. I think behind closed doors they want him to have another couple of fights before he takes on Wilder, maybe even age out Wilder, or at least have Wilder fight someone else and see what he's got left. But the question is, again, who does he fight? Ruiz is a no-go. It's difficult to say. It's difficult to pick someone. I mean, again, we talk about, you know, Sanchez, Gerald Anderson, Makhmudov, Bakoli. Who else we got in there in the mix? I mean, even a few sort of retreads. God forbid it should be Chisora. Dillian White and Wilder. I mean, I don't know. Dillian White's obviously got his drug issues, but his pet issues. But it's difficult to pick opponents for a guy who's pushing 38, doesn't hold a belt, and is an extremely dangerous fighter, because no one wants to take the risk. Now, if Joshua does go in with him next, and I don't think he will, again, he deserves a lot of credit for doing that. As does Wilder, because Wilder, with, you know, getting on a bit in age, no activity, taking on someone who does hit hard like Joshua, I don't think that's a bad call. But from Joshua's point of view, and as an Englishman who wants, you know, kind of supports English fighters, I would like to see Joshua avoid this fight. You want to call it a duck, call it a duck. I don't mind. You call it what you like. Sometimes, you know, sometimes fights shouldn't happen because you've got to be honest and someone isn't ready. And I just think mentally Wilder has got so many aces over Joshua. But at the same time, who's he going to fight? It really is a hard one. It seems to me that Wilder's career is somewhat in limbo. And people often talk about Joshua, saying, well, his career is stalling. He's had a couple of, but at least he's busy. At least he's fighting people. And you know, he couldn't be helped for the Helenius fight, because Helenius came in later after White had been pulled out. I thought the White rematch was going to be a good one, but then at 4 or 5 days to go, he pops hot for Peds. Helenius comes in, and then afterwards he pops hot. So it's all a case of, you know, Joshua hasn't had a lot of luck lately, but at least he's been fighting. Wilder hasn't. At his age, perhaps the rest is doing his body good. Perhaps he's gradually recovering. And his pride is being put back together following the Fury defeats. But where does he go next with the limited amount of time he has? I wouldn't be surprised if this Ruiz fight actually did happen. I don't know. But it seems to me that his career is in limbo as well. Anyway, I've kind of tried to give, with these last 2 videos, I've kind of tried to give a balanced opinion on both these fighters, Joshua and Wilder. If they were to fight, I would favour Wilder strongly to win. But yeah, maybe, just maybe, Wilder needs Joshua more than Joshua needs Wilder. I think that might be the case. Some people are overlooking that. But at his age, with his style of fighting, with his power being his main attribute, I don't really see the break as being as damaging as it would be for someone with a different style, who's more reliant on technique and speed and reflexes. But leave your comments below if you think differently. That's absolutely fine. I'm very, very interested to see where Wilder goes from here, because I do think he's an extremely exciting fighter to watch, and he really won my heart over with that performance, the third fight against Fury, because there was no quitting that guy. I mean, say what you like about the man, he does talk a lot of crap sometimes, but that's a fighting man right there. And to be honest with you, in his heyday, 5 or 6 years ago, Joshua showed some heart. You know, against Klitschko, he got floored badly, he sucked it up, got his second wind and won. But I just think right now, Wilder's got the aces up here. Anyway, comments below as normal. I will answer them and read them with interest. Thank you for subscribing. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. And also hit the like button, because they count the likes apparently. Alright, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and bye for now.